Okay, we're continuing our tutorial on the tools a photographer needs in Photoshop CS5. Our next tool will be the crop tool, and it's one of the more important tools for a photographer because almost any image that you have is going to need to be cropped to the right size. If you look up at the top, right now it's blank, but these are pretty important settings that you can set to get the exact size. Right now it's blank, and so you can just drag any way you want if you're just having a random crop or whatever. One neat thing to note is that it's broken up into grids to emphasize the rule of thirds, and so I won't go into the rule of thirds here, but basically it means you want the third parts, like this line here, showing something important, and this is her face, and so it's going right in there, and so that works pretty good. But we don't really know what it is. If I crop it, you check this check mark up here, and it's cropped. So our size hasn't changed, it's only been trimmed to remove stuff that we didn't necessarily need. Where it becomes powerful is in the tool presets. You can set this up in this dialog right here, new tool preset. You would have to fill out these boxes first, but when you do that, you can have settings that you use all the time. For example, a 5x7 at 300 pixels per inch. So you select that, and all of a sudden there you go, you have your 5x7 ready to go, and it maintains the proportions to 5x7, so you don't have any guessing to do, and just raise it up, and you can move it around by your arrows if you want, and then save that. We can go up to image size, and we can see we have a 5x7 at 300 ppi. Zoom in. So if we wanted to do anything different, we could even go, say, 8x10 if we wanted to. Crop there, and this thing is going to grow because we chose a bigger file size. And when you have this, if you wanted, you could just go in here and save as a new tool preset. Again, for whatever you want to do. Another feature is the front image means it's going to take the dimensions of the original image. If you wanted to maintain the size and proportion but just wanted to make it smaller, or you'll crop in but make the file the same size, there you go. So that's our crop tool. The next is the eyedropper tool. I don't use those a whole lot, but you can use it the same thing here. If you wanted to select a color, it gives you the eyedropper tool, and you can click on there, and it picks up the color of whatever you select. So I'm going to cancel that now. And the color sampling tool you can place it, and it will maintain the marker for the color that's going to be here. As you change your color settings, this will show you where that is. I don't use it a whole lot, but it's something that's available. Okay, let me get this back. Our next tool, set of tools, are your healing tools, and these are some of the tools that I use all the time. Let me go to another picture with a guy that has a bit of acne. I can zoom in, and if I just brush it in here, you can see his blemishes just go right away. And this is the spot healing tool. It just does it automatically. It senses it's new actually in CS5, this content aware. It used to take immediately or pixels from the immediate area, and it wasn't always what you wanted to have. But now with Content Aware, Photoshop does something that just makes it so much more accurate that it's just a lot easier to use. The next tool on the list is the Healing Brush tool. And with that, what you need to do, if we're dealing with skin for example, is find an area that you want to sample from and click the Alt key and then go into that area and click it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to cover up this area, but it'll be sampling from right over here. And so you can use that a lot, and you can keep it aligned or not. And right now I have it not aligned, so every time I start new, it's sampling from the original spot. The next tool is the patch tool. If you want to do it in big patches, you can just select an area and then drag it to a good area that you want to sample from, and it just takes that whole area, and that is a very effective tool. And then the last in there is the red eye tool, and this isn't red eye, but really when you select it, if this was red, you would just click on it and that thing's going to turn black, and so it's extremely easy to use. Now we have our brush tools, and let me zoom out. I have my opacity set for 20% from another project, and as you can see, it's just a paintbrush. But in the settings here, you could see that it's set for 0% hardness, and so it's kind of a really scattered, and it's a gradual fade from painted to non-painted. If you change the hardness, it's that hardness that's going to just go away, and you can have a solid circle. And so that can be effective if you need high accuracy in smaller areas, but most of the time you're going to find that zero hardness is much more forgiving. But then there's times I found that something in the middle works the best. And last on this one, well, we'll go a couple more, I guess. The clone stamp. The clone stamp is similar to what we did with the healing brush, but it's taking it exactly for what it is. So you sample, let's sample this eye. You're holding the Alt key and then clicking there, and let's paint an eyeball on his forehead. So that's exactly what it does. It's not real pretty, but it takes the exact area that you sampled from and puts it somewhere else. So we're not going to be taking eyeballs, but sometimes it's handy. For example, let's say we wanted to extend, this area right here up. That's not the most attractive, but you get the idea of what it does. Let me start lower. Okay. Now, see, one of the problems I have right here is it looks like I have a hard edge on that. Let me change the edge. See, the hardness is high. We're going to be a lot more forgiving if we change that to a 0 hardness and come down here and go like that. So we're just cloning that area. That's what the clone brush does. It's not attractive, and it's not even the best tool to use a lot. Usually the healing brush is going to do things a lot better. Let me show you the difference in the healing brush. The healing brush samples the area and kind of tries to blend it in more. So it's going to be much more forgiving. Let me do it one more time. But it still takes some work. And our last tool is the history brush. Now, we can always just go backwards here, but on this, let's say we didn't like that and we'd gone beyond our history states so that we didn't have the ability to go back, but you can always go back to the beginning. And this little marker right here in this box shows you the history state that you want it to go back to. And we just paint this right back here, and we painted in this information that was here in the original file, and we could do the same thing if it was here. We just go in there and we've painted it back. So that can be pretty easy to use.